Hi, my name is Sheila Buss. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my coaching project and how my mentoring project worked for the spring 2009. First, let me tell you how I chose my mentor. I chose Lynn Pennington. Lynn is my mentor for administrative duties, and so it was a little risky choosing her to be the one that I mentor as far as reading and teaching reading plans. However, she was very eager to learn, and she wanted to really work with me, and I thought, okay, so she can be my mentor in some aspects, and I'll be her mentor in others. And I thought it would be a really good partnership, so we thought we'd try it. So what did we do? Well, we talked quite a bit, and you'll see the summary of that on my wet paint project. And we decided, how should we do this? We decided to talk about grouping, which would work best, which would work not so well. She did have a few concerns and a few issues. We also talked about what should we do. Her MAP scores were very low. MAP is what we use in the fall and the spring. They're our measure of academic progress, and because her scores were so low, it's something we really needed to focus upon. Her reading comprehension scores were low, and we knew we needed to address that. We also knew that we needed to address the non-text features. In the end, her students needed to learn to read more effectively. Those social studies and science skills were suffering, her reading skills were suffering. Without text features, they were not going to improve. So that's where we chose to address it. How did we do it? Well, first, we thought, let's talk about what text features are and what non-text features are. She wasn't really comfortable with understanding how to use maps when we're talking about books, and what timelines, how to use the vocabulary. So we talked about how to do that, and I showed her some strategies, and that helped. It also really helped her when I modeled the lesson, and she got to watch that, and then it was really interesting because after she watched me model the lesson, then I watched her do the same lesson, and it was really exciting. She took my notes during my lesson, and she taught it, and then we continued to meet regularly as we progressed, and Lynn really showed progress. It was a very exciting time for us. She really learned a lot about how to utilize special text features. This is just an example of some text that we use from our modeled lessons. One of the things that we did, and I encouraged her to do, was with vocabulary. And you can see here that the vocabulary words are highlighted in yellow. What we do to build vocabulary in my class is we use vocabulary cards, and are just index cards, 3 by 5 normally. And they write the vocabulary word down on an index card as we preview the book, before we ever start reading it. And they write the word, and they write D for definition, S for sentence, and V for visualization. As we get to the word in context, then they fill out the rest of the card. This helps them to sort the word, gives them a second time to look at the word, and gives them a better understanding of what their word means. You'll also see the map over there. In the past, according to Lynn, she said she never really used the text features. She just continued to read. Sometimes the kids looked at it, sometimes they didn't. But for the more visual learners, the map really puts into perspective what the text is trying to say, so she has a much better understanding of that. Fortunately, Lynn found immediate results. Following the first lesson, she was so excited, students were able to summarize what happened in that book. This is the first time that she experienced this immediate growth. And the students were extremely pleased, and she was pleased as well, because the students actually were able to summarize and they knew that they experienced growth. The next thing we want to talk about is student grouping. Lynn has a lot of behavior issues in her class, and that presented a lot of difficulty. Never before had she been able to group her students in a way that allowed for her to meet with different groups, because the abilities were different, the behaviors were different. So we talked about several strategies, and what we decided was a couple of things. One, we could set the groups up for the trade books, which are based on their ability levels, and we could also set the groups up for textbooks, which are written at a harder level, so we'd have to do mixed ability. And the students addressed that very well. They were a mixed group and ability group, so it worked really well, and the students liked it, and they enjoyed it, and she worked well with the groups as well. So what were the results of our mentoring sessions? I learned a lot. First, I learned more about grouping, and I recognized some of the options, and the fact that you don't always have to have the same, when you say get into your guided reading groups, it's not always the same reading groups. That was kind of exciting. Through the modeled lesson, I also learned from Lynn. When she delivered it, it was different than when I did it, so it was kind of exciting as well. And we developed an approach to help students to make use of special text features that they never made use of before. Next steps? Well, the project might be over, but Lynn and I have just begun. We've decided to write a grant next year for some informational text to help us with some class novels and to use next year so we can actually use these skills for our classes next year. We also determined that the bookmarks that our kids made, we're going to make that part of our beginning year lessons next year to help them remember to use those special non-text features. And finally, we're going to continue to focus on special text features as the students prepare for our standardized state testing. So we're pretty excited. Okay, who did that process help the most in the end? Yeah, it helped Lynn quite a bit. She experienced growth in her numbers. It helped me. I learned a lot from her. She learned a lot from me. But who benefited the most? By far it was the kids. The kids got the most. They learned to read. They learned lifelong skills. And that's something they'll forever have. So it was an exciting project for all of us. Hope you all have a great evening.